Hello Novice One players and parents. Here's another video I've done up showing how we will transition from defense to offense when our goalie is in the net furthest away from our bench. So typically this would be kind of second period transitioning. Here we see the basic lacrosse floor that I used in the previous videos, but this time we've added the positions of the players on here. The positions that you see the players in here is essentially where they need to be when we start our defensive side of the ball. So for example, we've lost possession or taken a shot. The other team is now coming down the floor. Our players need to hustle back into the defensive positions they are here and set up in this kind of wall formation. As you can see here with the position names, there's no offensive or defensive personnel on the floor. Depending on where on the floor you're playing, everybody's on offense or everybody's on defense. As we are just getting the season started, we're not going to focus too much on positions at this point. It is something we will get into as we progress throughout the season, but just to get us started here, we're just going to worry about players lining up 5 across and making sure that they're on the right side of the floor. And by right side of the floor, we mean that the left-handed players, so those players who are right-hand dominant, whose right hand is at the bottom of the stick and left hand is at the top of the stick, they will be on the left side of the floor, the left shooter in the left crease, whereas those who are right-handed, that being left-handed dominant or right hand at the top of the stick, they will be the right shooter and the right crease. The point person can be either left-handed or right-handed, doesn't really matter as long as we get an even balance on the floor. So we're going to pick this video up from where, say, we've just got a shot on net, our goalie has made the save, and now we are about to transition from our defensive positions down the floor to offense. As we talked about last practice with the kids, this is when we will use the opportunity of that transition to change and get our fresh legs on the floor for our offensive drive. Keep in mind that this is just a basic template for how this system should work. We're obviously missing a component here on the floor, and that being the opponents and what the opponents are doing. We do have the benefit of the fallback rule, so it will give us some time to move the ball up the floor to a certain extent, but then again, when the other team is in play here, there will be some deviations in here to make sure that we get our passes to the right spot. But this is, again, just a general template, get an idea of how we will transition from defense to offense. This first clip just shows our players in their good defensive wall, and we'll pretend that a shot just happened and our goalie has made the save. Okay, so our goalie has made the save. Our players begin to spread out and get ready to transition the ball up the floor for our offensive drive. As we can see here, the right shooter heads up the floor, the right creaseman heads towards the edge of the crease outside the 24-foot circle to get the pass from the goalie. At this point, the left-handed shooter and the left-handed crease player are heading towards the bench for a quick change, and the point position is heading up the center of the floor. Our goalie then completes the pass outside the 24-foot circle to our right-handed crease player, who then begins to move the ball up the floor with his feet, looking for the open right-handed shooter position, who should be getting across the first restraining line. As long as we make sure that that right-handed shooter position is across that first restraining line, we will have no issues with the 2-line rule that's going to be enforced by the referees. At this point, our right shooter can either, depending on what's going on with the floor and the defensive players, either proceed across the second restraining line himself or find the point man available to pass the ball to. As you can see, once that pass is completed, the right crease and right shooter are both running to the bench as quick as they can, and the new players are coming on the floor with fresh legs, all the while the point man is ensuring to protect the ball, making sure we maintain possession until the point man coming off the bench is able to get it open so he can get the ball. At this point here now, it's just a matter of now the players cycling on and off the floor, getting into their respective positions on the offensive side. Again, the creasemen will go down towards the bottom of the 24-foot circle. The shooters will go pretty much to 45-degree angles of either side of the goalie, and the point man will take position right at the top of the 24-foot circle. It's from these positions here that we will hopefully start being able to get into our motion offense, moving the ball around, having the players keep their feet moving, keep the defensive players second guessing, and allowing us some scoring opportunities. I'd like to stress to the players that although this is the perfect way we'd like to see the ball moved up the floor, we are missing one very important piece, and that is the opposing team. Everything from how you move the ball up the floor to who you pass to where you go with it will be determined on what the defensive team is doing at that time. This is something we're not expecting you to have perfected in the next day or two, that's for sure. This is something that we'll be practicing pretty much every practice, because this is a very important part of the quickness of the game of lacrosse, is being able to get our players out on the floor quickly, transition on the floor quickly, and get the other team off balance by how quick we can move the ball up the floor. I'm going to run those clips a little quicker now so you can get an idea of how quickly the ball will be transitioned up the floor. That concludes this video on us transitioning from defense to offense when our goalie is at the net that is the furthest away from our bench. Hope this helps. You guys can use this video to refer to all season long, and depending on which position you're potentially playing the next game, you can refer to it to try to remind yourself of exactly where you're supposed to be. Remember to keep practicing with your sticks at least 10 to 15 minutes a day. Work on your cradling, trapping, running, scooping, passing if you can, throwing, catching, and anytime you can get that stick in your hand, it's going to help you out. Take care, and we'll see you at the next game or practice. Bye-bye.